I didn't grow up with the blueprint. I didn't grow up with my family sharing values. I didn't grow up with any type of real direction. I had to figure it out along the way. And to be honest, just like I'm sure a lot of other people, I grew up in dysfunctionality. So there was nothing around me that necessarily stated that, hey, this is the direction that you should take from a positive standpoint. I grew up in the projects. In the earlier years of my life, up until I was about 5, I was with my grandmother. I then moved with my mom until I was about 14, almost 15. Then I moved with my dad to finish out high school. And there was nothing around me that really said, like, hey, these are the things that you should be doing, as far as going to college or, getting a certain type of job or living in a certain type of environment, making a certain amount of money. There was nothing, right? So it was like I was already at the bottom. So the only way was up. So I had to figure everything out on my own. I had to create my own vision, my own plan. Although even those earlier years of my life, I was always asking this question, like, what's my purpose? What am I doing here? I didn't know what my talents were, my gifts. I thought that I wanted to be a teacher, but I'm kind of old school. So, as I started to get older and I started to see the trajectory of the way that the school system was moving, I felt like I didn't want to be a part of that. I hear there's a lot of politics that go on in the school system. And I just didn't think that I necessarily belonged in that type of environment, but I still had the spirit of teaching. I just didn't know where that would take me. So I would always ask myself that question. But growing up in the environment that I grew up in, it was hard to look past that environment and then dream of something bigger than the environment that I was in. So I would try to, experiment into doing different things. I didn't play sports, so I wasn't really good at that. I was a pretty average student. I mean, I took some AP classes, was in some honor classes when I was in between middle school and high school. Had a scholarship to go to college. I messed that up. That's another story for another day. But I felt like I had the ambition and I had the drive. I just didn't have the backup. I didn't have outside of just parental support. And this is not to say that, my parents just absolutely wasn't there. They just did, I guess, the best that they could based on what they knew and what they had. So I had to work with what I had to work with. I didn't have mentorship or, anyone in my circle, coaches or anybody who could give me any information necessarily. And the people who you think that would be able to help you, that's at your disposal. Like when I started college, and then you have, what is it called? Whoever the person is that helps you to pick your classes when you're starting college. Have a brain fart, but is it the academic advisor? Something in that nature. But anyway, the person that I was assigned when I first started college was not helpful. Okay, so it was like, okay, this person isn't helpful. They're telling me information that I don't think is very helpful for me. So again, I had to figure it out. I made some mistakes. I did a lot of things, but along the way, I still envisioned a life greater than where I was. I knew that at least I wanted to, work a little bit to gain some experience so that I could figure out what my interests were and things that I wanted to do. And so each job that I would work, I would pick up skills and things that I liked about the company or the actual job that I was doing, and things that I didn't like. I've worked in, retail, convenience retail. I've worked in a restaurant. I've worked at an insurance company. I've worked in probably a couple of the different industries. And so, I had to just take certain things from these different places and then just add it kind of to my little bucket. And, as I went along this journey, I knew that, okay, teaching was still that spirit, but I also have these other skill sets. I also have passions, and I also have other things that I've gained along the way. And the way that I look at it is my 20s was just the time for me to understand who I was. That those were the times for me to really gain an understanding of what I truly wanted. Because sometimes you think you want one thing, but then you realize later on that that is not the thing that you really want. It's something else, but the things that you've learned and picked up along the way is preparing you for what's greater. Now that I'm 33 years old, I've realized that my life is just beginning. I know a lot of times we look at social media and we're looking at things that other people are doing, and sometimes we feel like we're behind. We feel like it's too late. You know, you see these young people now, they're, becoming content creators and they're doing things, they're making money and they're doing all of this stuff. And then, even some people who seemingly, right, who seem like they got it all together, because, it's a lot of people out here committing fraud. It's a lot of people out here, doing some shiesty stuff. Okay, under the table things that we don't know nothing about. So we see these people posting on social media. They seem like they got it together, but we have absolutely no idea what these people are doing. And so, for a lot of us who are in our 30s and we're kind of just getting started, sometimes we feel like we're behind. But again, when you really think about your upbringing, like, did you really have that support? Did you really have people in your circle who was saying, helping you to cultivate your being and the direction that you wanted to take, so that you could have gained some type of success in your 20s? Although when I think about, like, one of the plans that I had was to purchase a home, I was probably like 24, maybe 24, 25, and I was living in the projects. But I told myself, I was like, you know what? When I move out of this apartment, I want to purchase me a home. I do not want to be apartment hopping. So I lived in one, it's subsidized housing, call it the projects because it was the projects. But I stayed in one maybe for almost 2 years, and I moved to another one. I stayed in that one for like 7 years. So I started my journey on even starting that process of home ownership, like working on my credit, paying down debt, getting my finances in order. That was like at the end of 2017 to 2018. I went through the process initially to purchase my first home in 2021. And then I finally closed on my first house in 2022 at 29 years old. But I made a plan and I set out that that's what I would do. It took some time, but I did it. And that was just only the beginning, because like I said, I'm in my 30s now, and there's a lot of different jobs and a lot of things that I've done, and I've picked up a lot of things along the way. But I've gotten to a point now where I'm like, I know what I'm supposed to be doing now. And a lot of times I sit back and I'm like, dang, why didn't I figure this out in my 20s? Why am I just figuring this out? And so I think that's not even a question I should be asking. God is in control of everything at the end of the day. And there may be a lot of things that I don't understand right now. It could be 5 years from now, it could be next year, who knows, that things may start to unravel and start to make a lot more sense. So right now, I'm enjoying the ride. I'm not rushing the process. I'm being patient. I'm not worried about what nobody else is doing, only my own journey and what I have going on. I'm not trying to rush into it. I'm just taking it one step at a time, because as I take each step, more of the staircase starts to reveal itself. And so I will encourage you that if you are a woman, you're in your 30s, you're starting over, you're trying to figure out what is life at this point, especially for a lot of us who have kids and our kids are getting older. We're just really trying to figure out what is that next phase going to look like in our lives as we start to push into our late 30s into our 40s. What does that look like? But I encourage you to understand that you are not too late, that you are right on time. And so you don't have to worry about what he, she, Jim, John, Kim, whoever, you don't have to worry about what nobody else is doing. Only worry about your journey and worry about what it is that God has in store for you. So just leave a comment and tell me, what season are you in right now? What are you doing? What are you working on? And what's your vision for your life? Where do you see yourself in the next 5 years? Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.